But Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Happy New Year to you as well.
Hey, I appreciate it. Hey, because it's the February 2023. Some people say it's Black History Month. Some people say it's Hebrew History Month. We're going to talk about history, and we're going to break down what is this thing called history, and attempt to position it and shape our conversation on the past, the present, and the future. It's going to be based on what I call home equity desert in our communities. And your actions motivated me to think about this because I'm looking on social media and I see all the work that you're doing, not just in Louisiana, but in the community that I live in. And right. We're going to talk about the Fair Housing Act, because fair housing is actually a civil right. And correct. Until we understand our rights, we never put ourselves in a position to demand that, hey, I can't afford a home. I got a partner of mine, and he has a quote. He says, don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate today, then wait. So he's saying, hey, buy today, allow it to appreciate so you and your future legacy can live from that. And that's what we have to focus on, the Fair Housing Act. Now, Ron, I know you are fully aware of what this Fair Housing Act is and that it is a civil right. But I look at you as the forefathers before, they were actually in the now, in that state of present. They were working to make their communities better. And I look at you, that's what you're doing. You're working today, creating history to make the present better and also the future. So how does it feel to take on, or had you even looked at it in that aspect that you are actually making history and you're going to be a change maker of the future?
Well, yeah, I have thought about it in that aspect. Being second generation, a family coming from a family that were self-employed, that were contractors. So I've been around the real estate and the construction all my life. And like I said, the guys, like I said, my father and my uncles, they actually worked for development companies in the past that helped develop the south side of Monroe, as well as other small towns surrounding Monroe, doing housing developments. So there was a big push, as you just mentioned, about the Fair Housing Act. Basically, that act was established in 1967 after, matter of fact, 8 days after MLK was assassinated. It was passed through Congress. So what that did, it actually placed the ability for more minorities to actually go in and start getting housing. So it was a boom of housing developments, especially around here in Northeast Louisiana, where they were building housing subdivisions, places like Tanglewood, Garden Park, Pine Bayou Extension. These are just some neighborhoods that's around here on the south side of Monroe. So the push back then was to create home ownership, more so than rental housing. So our parents were more so, looking to buy and create home ownership, just like you just stated. So there's you look at the south side of Monroe, the older neighborhoods, they actually had housing developments where people actually owned the homes. And so those homes were passed down to the next generation. If they didn't sell them off and move to another neighborhood, of course, they were starter homes. So just like you just said, this is what I'm trying to accomplish now, coming back to the south side of Monroe, trying to create the mindset of our people to now do the same thing, create home ownership.
And I applaud you for that. And I appreciate your hard work, your hard effort. And also, I'm so grateful to social media because now I can see the actual work, the progress. It's no longer just saying through words, I desire a home, or what type of work does it take to get a home ready for ownership? I can actually see it. I can see the before, the past, the present, and the future. I can see when you first go to a home and then the current state, then I can see you going through the demolishing stages. Then I can see, to me, it's so beautiful So organic, that red dirt. Maybe want to go out there, just grab it and eat some of it.
Correct.
It's just, what they call that, a pad?
Yes,
Dirt
sir.
pad?
Dirt pad. Dirt pad.
And that tells me automatically without knowing, oh, a new development, something about the growth from the ground up.
Exactly.
But you are the farmer making things happen. But I want to touch back to what you said. Home ownership in Monroe versus rental. You're talking about, if it's fair to say, you're talking about generational wealth.
Correct.
Could you speak more detail about generational wealth and the benefits of generational wealth at the aspect of actually owning a home versus just renting?
Well, it goes back to what you just alluded to earlier in regards to the reason Congress created the Fair Housing Act was we were being discriminated against as a people. As we have heard of, redlining. So we know without a shadow of a doubt what is happening over the years. Anytime we as a people went in to actually get financing, either our interest rates was high, we were turned down. Anything that transpired that came to us, that was always a challenge given. So by buying land or having a property in America or else anywhere in the world, that is a piece of property that's not going to ever be developed again, a piece of land. So if you're able to have a piece of property, hold on to it, eventually down the road it's going to appreciate. So the same thing like now for the Monroe area. Everybody knows without a shadow of a doubt, the south side of Monroe, the appraisal value is not there now. But as we continue to keep doing the new developments and new houses, doing certain parts of the city, we're going to start helping the south side of Monroe appreciate in regards to value. So, you have some people invest in the stock market. You have a lot of people, I'm old school. I love the land. I love houses. That's what I know. That's something that I can control. You can't control the stock market. That's not something that, any of us can control. But if you go buy a house, an individual buys a home and they live in that home for years, they might go in at $100,000 and purchase a home. And then as that area is improving, that value of that house might go up to $150,000. So now that homeowner has $50,000 worth of equity in that property. So with that being the case, there used to be, you could do a second mortgage on the house. You got home equity loans, or if mama passed, we all gonna have to die one day, and then the house is passed down to the offsprings of that parent. Now they have equity or something to use once that house is paid off to either start a business, pull cash out for education. It's just a number of things that can be done with a real estate, a piece of property that is owned by an individual.
Yeah, and you're breaking that down. So we're going to break that down a little bit further. We're talking about generational wealth, what a person can do with that type of wealth.
Correct.
And also through the generation, how it can actually make a difference. Because according to statistics, we're talking about the Fair Housing Act. There were so many biases and disparities where the federal government had to come in and say, hey, there's no fair access to what's going on to home ownership. Because from the 1930s to the early 1960s, people that were being approved for homes did not look like us, did not live in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to attempt to lay a level playing field, Martin Luther King, he fought for this civil right.
Correct.
And he, like you mentioned, he ended up being murdered, and then within so many days after, the Congress passed this. And so today, the only way that we are able to actually benefit from this are people like you, the Black banks, the Black realtors, the Black developers, actually going into the communities, making a change, developing land that we actually currently live in. I want to break that down, this thing called generational wealth, or just wealth. Wealth itself is defined as an asset. It could be cars, jewelry, home, minus liabilities equals the net worth. And that's what we want to talk about, this thing called an asset, because some people are still on the mindset that, hey, what's the purpose of me buying a home? Well, let's break it down to, say you're paying $1,000 a month for 10 years for whether you're buying a home or renting. So if you're renting after 10 years, you walk away with the opportunity to go live somewhere else with no asset. But at any condition, if you're actually going through the steps of home ownership, now you have what we call asset. We can actually create a net worth. And as you mentioned earlier, we could possibly fund a college fund for our children or our children's children, or vacation, or have we become the actual miniature bank because of this asset. Assets are so important, and that's where it starts. But more so, the way you said you end up being attracted or coming into the business is through observational learning. You saw your father, your uncle into the industry. And
Correct.
this is what home ownership can do today. If I'm a purchaser of a home, maybe my son, my daughter will see that and they will duplicate that. And
Right.
that becomes the generation. Because we understand wealth, we put it together with generation learning through observation. Now we have generational wealth.
Right.
And through that, this thing called fair housing, and I see what you're doing, you're giving people fair access, but more so affordable housing, because you're the man of research. Everybody knows that knows you. So you actually went out, did all the legwork for people in our communities and say, hey, I have a resource for you.
Yes.
You recognize that, hey, times are tough, interest rates are going up, but you've been able to actually peel through the onion, different layers, and get to the core of it and say, hey, affordable housing is here and it's today through the traditional Fair Housing Act. So tell us a little bit about this resource that you have for all people in our community.
Well, yeah, just like you just said, a lot of people don't go and read and research. Once again, been around the construction industry for many years. I've been doing this now for 30 years. I became a mortgage broker back in 1997. So I was financing and building houses since then. And then having the knowledge of the different programs that are out there available for the public. So I didn't utilize the program. Of course, interest rates were low at 3%, 2%. So nobody really cared about this federal government program that I have. So when the rates started rising, you utilize everything when in its right timing, in its right season. So this is why I actually started advertising this program. Now, mind you, I used to use this program back in the early 2000s around Northeast Louisiana. So I went back to it because once again, I already knew about the program. As I mentioned to you when I approached you with it as well. So we're able to bring 4% interest rate to homeowners. Where right now the national rate is probably about 6.8%. And we're able to get 100% financing, no money down, as well as, so it's several tiers. There's a very low income in the individuals that come through the program. If they're $60,000 under, we can actually get them financed through this program. If they're considered very low income, the government comes in and helps subsidize the monthly note, just like Section 8. So the biggest challenge right now, what I see, is trying to educate our people on folks that are renting and not to take anything away from the landlords or the housing authority or any of these other programs, which because everybody has to rent at a certain time. But what I'm trying to do now is put the information out there to let the people know, hey, there is a program out here that you can actually still have a subsidized monthly note, that you have assistance from the federal government. It doesn't affect your the SNAP program or any of the other subsidies that you might have. That you're able to come in and get a brand new home built on a piece of property that you own, a house that you choose, the colors that you pick, and the house is yours, a brand new home. So like you said, going back to that Fair Housing Act, this is one of the programs that was created because of that. And matter of fact, the program, like that I mentioned, Tanglewood, Garden Park, Lincoln Park, all those places down on the south side of Monroe, they utilize this program. My mom actually went through the program. I remember when I was in elementary. So it's not nothing new. It's been here forever. Like I said, most folks just don't know about it because you have all these other banks. You have all these other banks out here that have the financing programs as well. But what I've done is tapped into the federal government to be able to utilize the program, and now just bringing it back around again. So as the scripture says, there's nothing new under the sun. So here we go.
Yeah, man. As you were sharing that information, you dropped a lot of spiritual quotes on us. So, and so we're talking about affordable housing, the Fair Housing Act, because it's Black History Month, and people are in a position. You're giving people the fair access to actually create a legacy where they can actually build wealth, a legacy where they can pass it on. Now becomes generational wealth, long as we teach our children, their children, to duplicate this process. Now, how do people get in contact with you? Because you're only giving us a few bits and pieces. How do they get in contact with you to get a little bit more detailed information?
Well, Instagram. Everybody's been hitting me up on Instagram because I've been posting like crazy. I've taken what Grant Cardone said, who's a big real estate billionaire out there on social media. He said, if you're not advertising on social media today, especially when it's free advertising, if you're not posting every day or else twice a day, then you're doing a disjustice to yourself. So I never was a person that actually posted in the past. So I've started doing that. So Instagram, you'll be able to reach us on Instagram, Ron Calhoun or AHAYAH Community Development. Then on Facebook is the same thing. And then of course, like last time I gave you my phone number is 318-953-9698. So I've been having people to contact me that way. Usually everybody hit me on Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger. So once they contact us, I send them the additional information out in regards to the requirements. Since I think I've been really posting now probably like 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, we probably have about 30 to 35 customers that I've sent out applications to. We've reached people. I've had people here just this past week from Hammond, Louisiana, reaching out to us, from Lafayette, Louisiana, reaching out to us, Texas, reaching out to us, from social media advertising. So, and this is the nationwide program. So, hey, if you're interested, we're gonna just reach out to us. We'll send the applications out. We're able to process the loans nationwide. So.
All right, fair housing, affordable housing. It is a civil right, and
Yes.
no longer shall we get in line to be denied because it's here. The program, if I heard you correctly, it targets low income and very low income individuals because this was a major hurdle. I mean, through the past, and that's why they came out with the Fair Housing Act. It was discriminatory, but now today you have an actual resource that targets individuals for low income and very low income. Did I hear that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
And that's very, very powerful. We're talking about the entire community. You mentioned some of the rural areas. We're talking about, and in the United States, 97% of all land is rural.
Ooh.
So we're talking about major, major opportunity for generational wealth.
Yes.
So no longer we have to live in a equity desert. We can actually, I can stand up. You quote some spiritual parables. I can actually leave a legacy for my children's children now.
And that's in the scriptures as well. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, building a legacy for our children to pass down for the next generation.
Well, today is Super Bowl Sunday, but we had to get this out here today. That's also hit. Is that fair to say? 2 Black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. That's history taking place today as well.
That's history. That is definitely history. Definitely history.
So, is there anything else you want to share with the family before we get out of here?
No. The biggest thing is just to get the information out there to educate people. Like I said, if you got family and friends out there that are been renting all their life, there's second and third generation of individuals that have been renting. Know that There's programs out there available for you to be able to get financing to actually create home ownership. One thing that the scripture says that we're not supposed to fear anything but fear God. A lot of people have a fear, and it's unbelievable. A lot of people have a fear of applying or getting turned down for a house. The thing that we're doing now is we have the credit repair. If you don't have the credit, we can help you with the credit. Within 6 months to 8 months, we can have you qualified in regards to a minimum of 640 credit score. We have the financing. We're going to walk you through the process. You can relate to us with the same color. We're going to make you feel at home. So it's not like a situation where you're going to walk into the bank and you can't relate to the people. We have an office that you can come in and sit down, once you get the paperwork. So the process is simple. A lot of people say, well, man, you make it seem like it's so simple. It is. And then for myself, because I've been in it, it seems that way. And then for a person that has never done it, it might seem overwhelming. So, but I'm telling you, we're here to help, walk you through the process. Just reach out to us and we'll be there for you.
All right, Ron, I sure appreciate you carving out some time on the Super Bowl Sunday. I know before we even recorded, you said you're going to enjoy the Super Bowl, but you still got to do some work so you can help the community.
Yes, sir.
I guess that's why it's called AHAYAH Community Development.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, you enjoy your Sunday.
All right, brother. You too.
All right.